Welcome to the DevReady podcast. Joining me on the DevReady podcast today, I have Joe Woodham. Thanks for joining me, Joe.
Absolute pleasure, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. So, for those of you that are new here or don't know how I run the podcast, I've never actually met Joe before, except for a couple of minutes just before now. So, I'll let him take it away and introduce himself because I'll never do a good job at that.
Where do you want me to start? My name's Joe Woodham. I have a company. My main business is a company called Torii Consulting. We are a UX design consultancy. So our bread and butter is mainly working with enterprise businesses, helping them understand how their users interact with their digital products, remove bottlenecks, and help them improve their ROI.
Okay, so nice little tight summary there.
Yeah.
So, where were you before you started Tory? So, were you always an entrepreneur, or did you have a career somewhere else?
Shit, so my backstory. Let's go all the way back. So I actually started in sales. My first job was door-to-door sales. I did that for a couple of years, and after that, because you kind of obviously have to work out how to deal with people, I got quite a few different job offers, and one came up which was IT recruitment. Now I had zero background in IT, and I didn't actually understand what recruitment was, so I thought I'd give that a shot. I had a few jobs, worked in recruitment for about 4 years, ended up in enterprise recruitment. I was very specifically working in development and with tech startups. I kind of started to build a pretty good network and pipeline. Always kind of wanted to be an entrepreneur. So my first experience as an entrepreneur is I actually started trying to import stuff from China.
Okay.
And I imported a shipment of kitchen sinks because I've been to Canton Fair. The markup was insane. I was like, oh, this is great. Stupid idea anyway. While I was
Just to
waiting
have
for
some
a
of them lying around.
container, like I quit my job and I was waiting for these sinks to come. And as they were coming, 'cause it took like maybe 6 weeks or something like that, I'm just like, oh, I may as well just try and do some recruitment on the side and see how that goes. And I closed my first deal and it was like 20 grand. I was sitting at home working on my laptop. I did the maths. I was like, shit, if I sell all of these things, I'm probably going to make 20 grand margin. And I've just done that in less time than it takes to ship. I was like,
Yep.
this model's not going to work. So I sold the sinks at a loss and I started a recruitment company. My first client was a company called Redbubble. They had about 15 staff at the time and they ended up becoming one of Australia's first unicorns. So I kind of grew my recruitment company off the back of that. We started working with all the hipster startups. So companies that had large amounts of investment funding would help plan, strategize,
Yep.
and then grow out their teams. So it was a lot of fun as a 26-year-old. I had a cool team of recruiters. We had a lot of fun. We enjoyed our time together after hours, partying in the office. And we did some cool stuff. In recruitment, you do get to see a lot of the market trends. So there's different cycles that come through, and I always kind of wanted to do something different. We moved from just pure IT permanent recruitment to a contract labor hire company, started working with larger companies. We started working
Okay.
like Telstra Health or Telstra and NAB. And then off the back of that, I saw a trend with design. It wasn't overly saturated. I'd worked in it in the past from a recruitment standpoint, and we already had a few contractors in design anyway. So I liked the space, loved the people, loved what design does. So I hired a design director, and then we moved the business into a pure design consultancy. And then from there, we just started growing out a portfolio of enterprise clients. Been lucky to work with some of the biggest brands in Australia: Australia Post, Telstra, NAB, Coles, and many others. And I think it's been fun to go from knowing nothing about business, trying to sell kitchen sinks, to working with enterprise, closing relatively large deals. So it's been a journey. It's a bit of fun.
Quite a variety there. So, that would have been an interesting take to just think about when you had that first sale and thinking about those sinks that were coming in and what the hell are you going to do with them? And then that realization that, all right, that's not the right way to get ahead, probably, is what you thought.
It was kind of like, I think I was trying to escape from recruitment at that point.
Yep.
Then I realized selling kitchen sinks wasn't going to be the easiest business. I knew nothing
Yep.
about it. And like it was a while ago. So it was at the right time where eBay was kind of a thing and people would buy off like eBay and you can make a
Yep.
massive margin. It just the numbers didn't quite stack up. And I was like, I'm pretty good at this recruitment thing now. It seems a little bit easier. I can chill from home, just be on my laptop and call people on my phone and go for meetings. So stuck with it.
Seems like the right idea in hindsight. Otherwise, you'd probably be talking to me out of a factory or something where you're warehousing everything.
Like how you go.
How did you notice sort of that hole in the market where the design resources weren't sort of being covered as outside of the general recruitment? Because a lot of labor hire either is when people think of it, they focus on it's either like in construction labor hire, or in my experience, it's more like just bums on seats, like developers, not really anything else.
Yeah, well, I was tech mostly, so that's kind of where we worked. And I think the recruitment model was very bums on seats, and it wasn't very personal. So like we would hire people and put them out on site, and it wasn't like we supported them. We kind of just had them and payrolled them, and we'd check in every now and then. And I think looking at that model, it was always something that like it was good, but I always wanted something more. And I was always looking for trends. Like I think that was something that I always looked for. So like there was a trend that would come in and be like DevOps, and then it'd be DevSecOps, and you'd watch companies grow and like be acquired. And then we kind of looked at design was something, and I knew the companies in the design space for a long period of time. It was never very saturated. Whereas with like let's say development, you've got huge consultancies that really service that. Whereas design, it wasn't a saturated space. Like huge consultancies like Accenture and Deloitte, they do have design, but they're probably not doing it how we do it. And we were
Okay.
able to add a different flavor and probably a little bit more value in just design, but we can't obviously service the whole technology space. So
Yeah.
I just thought it'd be a good space to go into, and I guess having some connections in it was a pretty.
It's always a good thing to have.
Yeah. I think it's being a recruiter, that's something that you're good at is you kind of make friends on your way and you kind of able to ask questions and people help you.
Yeah. So in the design, sort of what you're looking at, is it more graphics, UX design, that sort of space, or product, or like where is the specialty?
So yeah, so this is a fun thing. I don't think most people don't understand what design is. Like when you say, "Hey, I own a design consultancy," you make shit look pretty. No, it's not really what we do. We're more in the UX or service design side of things. So like
Yep.
we'll work with like an enterprise. Let's say you're looking at I don't know, the biggest retailer in Australia. You're trying to work out what are the friction points in their digital products. An example of that might be like customer service, right? If you've got someone trying to buy something or reset a password or something, and they can't do it, they have to call the help desk. That means someone has to pick up the phone, they have to verify them, they have to walk them through the steps to reset their password. Now that might be 15 minutes, and that might cost that company $10 to pay that person. Now times that by 1,000. It's a lot of extra money.
Yep.
Whereas with design, you can design that process to be smoother. Now someone can self-service that password reset for themselves, so they never actually have to speak to a customer service agent. So by removing that friction point, yeah, it solves like that small friction point. But like if you're looking at that on like a enterprise scale, that's like thousands of calls on a monthly basis. So like that small change increases the ROI and saves a hell of a lot of money. So we're more looking at those sorts of experience. So like the bigger overall picture of how you or I would interact with a digital product and how to
Yep.
fix that. Now, a really good example of that is not my example, but like Amazon, right? They have the one-click purchase. Now,
Yep.
if you're trying to go through a checkout process and it's just thing after thing after thing, the biggest problem for e-commerce brands is people just exiting the purchase. Now, going one-click purchase, you've removed all of those friction points and those parts where people could jump off the sale process. So like those sorts of things are what design from what we do actually is. So it's not really making things look pretty.
Yep.
Or obviously that you
That's
want
part
a
of it.
website that looks good and an app that looks good, but it's how that actually interacts with you.
Yeah. So it's more sort of the functional and how do you improve the process through better design, and probably the human-centered design is probably what you're going through and focusing on.
It's really about the human. So it's like
So
how we interact with digital products.
yeah. So in your time in that space, I'm guessing you've probably seen a shift where companies are probably saving cost by outsourcing like those customer service departments, and then they're bringing in probably design to then counteract that again and bring in a better experience to the user because of what they faced with those outsourcing decisions.
Fascinating. So this is an interesting one. I've seen trends over the years. Like it was maybe like 15 years ago, everyone tried to outsource their technology departments to other countries, and then there was a whole heap of issues, and they all brought it back in source. And I think that's been the same with customer service. So a lot of companies will still have customer service here in Australia. Obviously, AI is going to change that. And do you really need customer service anymore? But going back to the question, a lot of customer service teams are here in Australia. So I think what we're, I guess, doing is just trying to help remove the friction points so companies don't have to have as big a customer service teams.
Yeah, because as a consumer, the experience has been over the past, say, 10, 15 years, everyone was complaining about like just placeholder Indian call center was the problem because everything got outsourced. And then if you start looking at that through that design lens, it's how do you bring in more self-service into these products? And then there's less need to go to a call center. And then it almost feels like we're going away from the human experience. We're going more into like, here's an AI chatbot a couple of years ago may never answered any questions, and now it can answer questions, which is again another frustrating thing. Is just how many times can you write "give me a person" before you got put to a
I
person?
know, right? I hate chatbots as well, but they are getting a lot better. But I think realistically, if you're looking at it, what design is trying to do is actually trying to solve the problem, so there's no chatbot needed. Because if you can create an experience where, let's go back to that example where you've lost your password, you need to reset your password. If I don't have to call someone and spend 15 minutes on a phone going through a series of steps of verifying myself just to be able to reset that password, but you're able to do that and I can do that myself. You're not going to need a chatbot because it's so self-explanatory, and that's good design. It's being able to make technology so simple that your mum could use it. And I think, yeah, like you're not going to have to get to that point, but chatbots are a part of design, right? You've got to understand and you've got to design the workflow of how someone interacts with it, how it responds. So like there's actually a huge design element and content design element that goes behind that. But if you can build technology that's so good that you don't get to that point, then happy you
Yeah,
use it, right?
and that's what everyone wants. But I think there's a big problem sort of when people design software at times as well, because everything's interfaced through software. It's people who build the apps as developers, we know how it's meant to work. And unless you sit there and think of how someone else is going to use it, you may not know that that option that you want to turn on or off is 6 levels deep into some menu in some weird setting that you haven't read. And that's like what most of the support calls would be about.
I love
It's an
this.
interesting way to try and assess that.
This is, I find this a very interesting topic. So look, I've worked with enterprise for the last, I don't know, whatever, 5 years,
Yep.
specifically on design. Whereas if we take it back, when you look at the startups or scale ups, they focus on building shit. That's what they're really good at. It's like, let's build something, let's get it out to market, let's start making some revenue. And they start building it, like they're engineer led, and that's fine. But then they get to a point and they go, shit, we haven't actually thought about the user and how they're going to use it. And they've built,
Yeah.
I don't know, pieces of that product that a user's never going to use. But so it's kind of that interesting thing. It's like wanting to get a product to market so quick to start making revenue to test if it works. But if you just actually did the research and the design at the front of it, you'd remove all those friction points. You'd actually have a more narrow focus on going, if I build this product, I just need to build this because my users have already said that that's what they're going to use. And then you start engineering off the back of it. But then you've got an actual clear roadmap of what that needs to be, as opposed to let's build it, see what works, and then go back to it, because it's a really expensive way of doing something. And I think
It is.
design is coming a lot cheaper. Like doing user research is now cheaper, it's more accessible. And I think design's more like it's cheaper and it's more accessible. You can have a designer that's AI led and can kind of come in and act like a design team. So rather than just going to build a product, you can actually understand why you're building a product and not just follow blindly behind, all right, this person said we should build this, so let's go and do it.
Yeah, and that's the philosophy we've taken in our business for the past 10 years. So DevReady, the whole concept is we get you development ready. We plan and go into everything before we start the code. Because like you said, it's a more expensive way to make changes in something that's running than
Yeah.
it is to change a plan or a wireframe or a Photoshop file. Like that's the easy way to make changes and iterate. But if you're not talking to people, yeah, you're building the wrong thing. I think just in what we've said today, I have probably had a realization where as an enterprise, and if you do have a large call center handling queries, you've probably got a little bit more insight into
Huge.
where you can make those changes and get the bigger benefits compared to a startup who's trying to either educate a market or sell value that someone hasn't understood yet.
Definitely. Like I think when it comes to enterprise, right, it's not just customer service. You've got sales, you've got marketing, you've got finance, you've got all of these analytics that you can use to understand your users better. But then you've got so many users, you can run A/B tests, or you can actually go out and do proper research to understand what they actually need, what they're doing, what the friction points are. Whereas a startup, yeah, it is very different, but you can still run cheap, like user research. I did a podcast with Michelle, who runs a platform called Hey Juno, and you can do super cheap user research and just go find your potential users, understand how they're going to interact with your product or if they will interact with their product, and then build or design off the back of that.
Yeah, and you need to serve a real need. You don't just build things for the sake of building because no one's going to use it then. I think that's what a lot of people think is that they'll build it, they'll put it on the internet, we build it so they'll come.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen like that, and then never does.
It's an interesting thing. Like, wouldn't you rather build something that you know people are going to use? And like,
Yeah,
I could have the best idea, but is it the best idea for the market, or is it, I think it's a good idea?
yeah,
So if
that's
I
the
can
difference.
stress test that idea before I go and spend $1 million trying to build something, like I can go and research a whole heap of people, and it might slow down my build process by 4 weeks, but maybe I get the insights from people that my idea is stupid. It's not going to work. The market doesn't want it. And I can fine tune it based off the feedback. And then I go and spend $1 million and it actually works. I'd much rather that than build something that no one's going to use.
Of course, I think I can only think of one example where someone has actually built something and it's taken off without them actually trying to push it, and that was like ChatGPT. Because when that was first released, it wasn't released as a commercial product. So I don't know if a lot of people know that. It was released as like a experimental feature or like a research preview.
Yep.
But it blew up because then people found 100 different uses for the model inside that chat interface. So they really had to pivot from a research lab into a B2C commercial product really
Really?
quickly. So it was very different approach there. But that's the only one I can think of.
It's a good example though. It wasn't, it was, if we look at a lot of AI platforms, they haven't been design led, they've been engineer led. So engineer
Yeah.
and analytics. And like if you look at the first versions of ChatGPT or any LLMs, they're very,
The rudimentary.
they're not the easiest thing to start using, right? Like you wouldn't go,
No.
"Hey, mum, here's ChatGPT, go wild" in the first version, right?
Yeah.
She has no idea how to prompt engineer. She'd just be asking it the same things you'd be asking Google. Whereas right now, they've just spent, I can't remember, was it $6 billion on Johnny Ives to help with the design side of things. So I was like,
Yeah.
why are they going so hard on design now? Like I think for it to be more user friendly and less like prompt heavy, if you could do
Yeah.
it in natural language, right, and you could actually just talk to it and it gives you the output that you really want, it's going to be a better experience, but it means more people are going to be able to use it.
Yeah, and then that helps them scale again to another level from where
Yeah.
they currently are. Because they've got them to where they are with that crap interface. There's so much stuff that is still wrong with it if you're actually trying to use it heavily. But
Yeah.
yeah, bringing in that design legend and going to Johnny Ive with his pedigree and background of design is going to be then taking it to another level.
Yeah. It's still like it's an insane amount to spend on a couple of designers, right?
It is, but he's made his mark and built how much money for like assisted in the design of everything at Apple almost effectively,
Yep.
or anything that was big really.
I did a podcast not too long ago with Don Norman, who actually termed the user experience while working at Apple many, many,
Okay.
many years ago. So he was one of the first designers.
So in where you're going now as a design agency,
Yep.
it's you've stepped away from the recruitment. Is it now coming in with like a strategy and a similar place? Because do most organizations have sort of the same issues that you're trying to take and tackle and like address?
Interesting. So like we're trying to well, we are moving the business into a new direction at the moment. Like we have been working with enterprise, and it's been really good for the last couple of years. But enterprise have been a little bit slow in the last, let's say, couple of years in terms of their budgets are tighter. They're not growing. They're probably more contracting their technology teams. And I think for us, what we see is design is changing. I think everything in technology is changing at the moment. AI is going to change how we use technology. It's going to make it more accessible, and it's just going to change. So what we're looking at now is, I think, with the changes, design is now going to become way more accessible to small businesses or scale-up businesses. So how do we help I guess, work with their problem set? And they're going to be very different to enterprise, right? Let's say with a scale-up, they may have found a product market fit. They're growing. They're hiring people. They've now got 4 products in the market. Now, there's a lot more inconsistencies when it comes to design with that. So if you've got engineers in different squads, then you need a design system that's robust, so people aren't repeating, building the same button on different things, and it's different on every product stream. So like
Yep.
solving those sorts of challenges to help companies scale in a more cost effective and frictionless way, that's what we're trying to focus on. But then AI and design as well. Like there's two parts to this. You could, if you're trying to build an AI product in your business, most AI, I guess, projects are failing at the moment because they're not designed in the right way, and they're just trying to bring it in because everyone else is doing something with AI. So it's kind of making sure they understand what the purpose is, how to implement it, and then ensuring that it's going to be used internally. But then also having AI-led designers. So designers that rather than needing a team of designers, you might only need one senior designer who has a tool belt of AI tools, and they're going to have like a 3x output or 5x output. So these are the problems we're trying to solve now, which very different to enterprise, because enterprise, they aren't doing too much with AI at the moment. So like
Yep.
we see there's a bigger gap in the market there, and it looks like a lot more fun for us to play in that space where technology is evolving so quickly. We want to be evolving with it as opposed to working on the same shit that we've been working on for the last couple of years. Well,
And
don't get me wrong,
that's,
we still do that as well, because there's always a place for that.
yep.
But I think being able to, I don't know, work with cutting edge, it's a little bit more fun.
Yeah, I've been doing that since ChatGPT came out. So
Yeah.
DevReady AI, you will know this, but it's a platform I've built with AI to help in product design, to help you design and spec out the entire product. And it's changing that fast where the first version I built, I had to do it probably 2 or 3 times because the AIs were changing that much and everything had to change. And that's
Yeah.
the fun part, is trying to keep up and understand what you can do with this stuff. So I completely understand why this software, a lot of it is engineer led, because it hasn't been out long enough for a lot of designers to probably get their head around how to actually design for using these kinds of features or products that are available now. Because I was even struggling as a system design. How do I build this? I'm just experimenting to see what's actually possible. Once I know it's possible, I know what I can build then.
Yeah, it's a common conversation in design. Design, maybe we're a little bit reluctant at the start to jump on the AI train, and now they're kind of seeing it as a mandatory thing. They have to get into it. But like, I'm not technical at all. I'm not a
Yeah.
designer either. So playing with AI, like at the start, it was how do I use this? And I was using it for basic things. But now, how do I build AI agents? How do I enable my business or my designers or my team to be able to use AI to make their job easier, make it faster, make it better? But like, you just have to play with it, right? I don't think it
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
matter
all it
what
comes down
skill
to.
yeah. If you're
Yeah,
technical, great, might be helpful, but
yeah, unless you use it, you don't get your head around it. So it took me from that, November 2022 launch, it took me until I think January before I even checked ChatGPT. But I had used it in 2021 when like ChatGPT 2 was available as an API. I'm like, oh, cool, it wrote some sentences for me, and we didn't look at it again because we didn't give it enough time to play with it. We're busy with other things, and you didn't understand that was like just before the wave. It was coming. Like, you didn't get it, but it is. There's a lot of people that had their head in the sand for quite a long time, probably still do, especially like you're saying in enterprise, that are like, all right, we need it. Let's just, how many chatbots can we add to products? Like that's the first thing people have been doing for the past 18 months is just adding chatbots to things, and that's the worst way to just add it in because it doesn't really add value.
I think it's a bit of a hype cycle sometimes, and I think people just want to be seen like they're doing something. So, what's the easiest thing that we could implement? It doesn't. Are
Yeah,
you going to use it? Is it going to be adopted internally, and is it going to add value and like reduce costs? They're not thinking about it in the right way. They're kind of thinking about it as like, we have to be seen to be doing something. But it's better to just automate something than start trying to build something with AI if that's going to
I completely
better.
agree. Otherwise, you just, oh, we've got an AI strategy. Yep, we've got an AI enabled product now, and then that's a checkbox for some shareholder meeting or
Yeah.
prospectus they have to send out to someone.
I'm pretty sure that's what most companies are doing is like, have we got AI somewhere? Yeah, we'll check that box. But like, just do some proper automation. I like simplify the process.
Yeah, we've had a lot of clients where they've asked us to do something, and I'm like, all right, you don't need AI for that. If you do that, it's going to add in like extra steps, or it adds in an extra layer that isn't necessary. You can just surface that information on the front screen if it's important. Or don't go ahead with that because you can't even automate a process because you haven't got a process in place yet. You're still using Excel for something. Like, there's no system, so you need the system first, and then you can automate it. There's a lot of that misunderstanding, I would say. So is your team leading with sort of like AI tools at the moment in design, so they can quickly mock up and prototype, like V0, Vercel, Replit?
It depends what they work.
Okay.
But actually, what we've got we're partnered with a company called Gen AI Labs, and we actually offer AI design led training. So, um, what I think there's a lot of training out there, but we're building something that's purely focused on designers, being able to help them understand how they can utilize AI in their workflow. So our designers will, because there's lots of tools that they can use for synthesizing research and stuff like that. But then there's a thousand new tools every day. Like, what are the top tools that someone needs to use? And I think just helping them understand the basics. So that's really what we're trying to do is at an enterprise level, we'll go in and train an entire design team on how they can implement AI into their workflow and have confidence to be able to do that. Because I think that's the main thing, right? Like, if you have a really shit experience, you mentioned that when ChatGPT first came
Yeah.
out, you wrote a few lines and then you didn't look at it again. Like, if you try and use, let's say, any LLM and the output's not what you expected because you thought it was going to solve all your problems, you'd be like,
Yeah.
it's not really as good as you think it'd
It's a
be.
problem.
Yeah. And it's not the LLM problem. It's your understanding of how to interact with that LLM. So I think that training piece is that key. And I don't think there's not really as much formalized training for staff. And I think that's one of the gaps because it doesn't matter if you're a customer service person, a designer, anything, right? Like, if you're not being trained how to use something properly, how can anyone expect a good output? So I think that's kind of the gap that we're trying to fill at the moment. And
Yeah.
okay, there's definitely demand for it.
Oh, definitely. And you're very early on in trying to get this because, so what I think it's about 1,000 days last week since ChatGPT 3 was launched to the public.
Really?
So it's very, very early on in this entire cycle. If you take that position that you're in now in, say, 3 years' time, everyone will have that training embedded probably at the enterprise because now it's commonplace. Where it almost should be commonplace already because of the benefit you can get from it. But you can iterate faster and move at a much faster pace than these enterprises can, and that's why you've been able to build these programs and offer them to the designers.
Well, I think it aligns back to our business values. Like, and the reason I wanted to move from recruitment to having a consultancy is now all of my team have a learning and development budget. But if we can offer that to our staff and they get value from it, how do we offer that to the rest of the design community?
Yep.
Because if we think there's a gap, it's not, it's more around educating the market. Obviously, it's good if the business can grow off the back of it, but it is around educating the market because if you're not getting up to speed on these things because there's no specific training for you, you start to fall behind and your job becomes at risk.
As an organization, how are you trying to keep up with all the changes then? This is something I haven't asked people, but I'm probably very interested in.
How do I keep up with?
Yeah, how do you and your team like keep up with the new tools and the changes and the things that are happening to try and apply it into your new methodologies?
Well, I'm lucky because I'm genuinely interested in AI. So it's not like I have to try and keep up and learn. Like, I know that this is going to change everything that I've done for the last X amount of years, right? Like, I'm going
Yeah.
to be like, I'm already using it in every aspect of my day. Like, I open my emails, but I'll always have either ChatGPT or Claude or some other AI window open. Like, I understand the impact that it's having to me personally. So I understand the impact it'll have to businesses. So for me, I feel like I'm falling behind if I'm not learning something about AI on a daily basis. Then if I'm just absorbing all that information, I'm not passing it on to my team, how am I expecting them to move and I guess develop with the times as well? So it's like, it's that ripple effect. It's got to start with me, right? Like, I've got to go, all right, I understand what this is, how it's going to impact us. How can I learn it to understand what the team need to know? Then how can I get them to learn that skill? Or what products that they need to be using to best utilize their time during their day? Like, how do we I guess work out that as a team and then pass that on to I guess the broader community as well.
Yeah, and I take a very similar approach. I love learning about anything, and especially
Yes.
this. It's keeping up with every trying to keep up with everything possible is impossible, but trying to keep up with as much as you can. So I'm watching 6 to 8 hours, 9 hours of podcasts and videos a week on any news and anything that's coming in.
Yeah.
And trying to synthesize that. Yeah. So I started a thing in April for the business where every YouTube video or podcast, I'd then send it to AI to summarize, and then I'd
Yep.
get like an AI script, and at the end of the week, I'd recap that script and then put my thoughts into it and then share that with the team. Just a simple way to do it, and I've done that since April.
What are you using to do that? Are you doing like N8N?
I like NAN automation just to then through Telegram sending a message and then it processes it. So it's a simple way, just using tools, like you said, to try and leverage it because I wouldn't be able to share that information otherwise. I'm not going to sit there and summarize and do all this by hand. I don't have the time. But if I'm making the kids lunches or breakfast and my wife's doing something or we're doing something, then if I'm not talking to her, earbuds in and I'm listening to something, just trying to absorb because you need to. And then you need the time to sit there and play with those things and try and share that with the team. But sharing it with the team, I think, is harder to get a lot of buy-in sometimes because you may have people, you might have experienced it, that they don't, they think AI is good, but it's not going to replace what they're doing yet. Or they haven't understood that it will get there at some point and they're just like heads in the sand.
Oh, like that's. I think you're always going to have people on your team that resist change, and it's hard because there's only a level that you can kind of work with that, right? Like if it is going to change everything, there's only so much, I guess, coaching or mentoring or leading you can offer before it gets too challenging. And I've been through that recently where I couldn't get someone to understand the impacts, and they couldn't even automate a task, let alone want to automate a task and understand AI. So it was relatively frustrating, but I guess it's a part of it, right? You've just got to work through it.
Yeah, it's you just work with a team, try and communicate, explain things, find the best people and work with them. And then if you get enough people moving with it and becomes the standard, then that becomes now standard operating procedure and then everyone has to do it. So it's just about understanding that it's going to take time probably and you just want to move faster than what an enterprise does.
Yeah, right. This is a part of what we're doing, right? Like, I see it as a. I'm just talking about my industry and I
Yep.
guess my staff. So we work with enterprise. Enterprise are slow to move, so quite a lot of them, I guess, haven't been like most projects that we would work on aren't necessarily AI led. So that means our team wouldn't be getting, I guess, the day-to-day skills using AI. And I feel like what that will cause is it's going to cause an issue. Maybe if 6 months' time or a year's time, if you haven't been upskilling in your personal time and then your job hasn't been upskilling you, you're going to find yourself in this position where you don't really know what you're doing and you're kind of out of your depth. And what's going to happen is enterprise are going to go, we actually need all of our team now to be AI led. So they're going to have to rehire all of the people that they've got on site. And they're going to go,
Yep.
well, we need designers, or look, we need anyone that has AI and their skill set, if that's an AI developer or an AI designer or an AI customer service, whatever. Um, Now, they're not going to take fault that they were the problem in the first place, that they were so slow to adopt it that they didn't train their staff properly now. And that's why their staff need to be replaced. They won't take that responsibility, but that's what will happen. So, like, where we see, like, we still want to work with enterprise because they are solving really complex, interesting things. And I think they will get there, but it might be another year. So, like,
Yep.
if we can really try and absorb as much as we can and offer SMEs or scale ups design and AI and learn with them and develop faster, then in 6 months or 12 months or 2 years' time, whenever enterprise starts absorbing that, we're already where they need us to be. So we've already done all of that hard work over here. So now they go, oh shit, well, we need to do this. And we're like, well, great, we've been doing this for ages. We can take you on that journey. This is how we're going to do it. So I think we just need to, yeah, watch the cycles.
Yeah, and that's the fun part, really. It's trying to keep up and understand what those cycles are, what new tools you can try and push someone through to the next one, or just bring them along and bring them up to pace, really.
Yeah.
Joe, it's been a great chat. If anyone wants to find out more about you and Torii, how can they do that?
So well, LinkedIn is probably my main hangout. So just check me out on Joe Woodham, Torii. And then I've got a podcast called All Things Design, which is a bit more design focused. But so if you're interested in design and how it solves problems for small scale up and enterprise businesses, so I get to speak with some of the coolest people. So check it out as well.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining me today, and it's been a great chat. Thank you, Joe.
Absolute pleasure, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.